right, so last week we did the pre-trimming and the bath, and this week is part 2, and we're going to do the finish work, clipper ends and the scissoring. So here she is. We've already pre-clipped her for the bath. Now we're clipping her. We're taking away those clipper lines. Remember I talked about them last week, guys? You can see them clearly. So what I did is I put a 5 in reverse on. I have a 5 and I'm clipping in a reverse pattern. Instead of when I pre-clipped her, I used a 7 with the lay of the coat. Now we're going 5 against the lay of the coat, and basically I'm only going over those clipper lines because the 5 reverse is about the same length as a 7 width. I mean, it pretty much is the same, maybe slightly different, but it blends very nicely. This is the way I like to do a lot of the summer clips. When you do clip in reverse like this, guys, you don't want to apply any pressure. You just want to hold the skin taut. You could see me kind of pulling her skin taut so I get a nice smooth clip. And that's what you're worried about. You don't want to apply a lot of pressure. I feel like it could irritate the follicles, and that is obviously the last thing that we want to do when we do any clipper work. And considering this is a fairly short trim, that's when you got to be careful about clipper irritation. Then I grab a slicker brush and I just start brushing with the lay of the coat and smoothing out. You can smooth out even more of those clipper lines with a slicker brush, guys. It's true, gently. Now let's work on that head. So I like to clean off all the hair at the lobes. This is called venting the ears. Anytime you have a drop-eared dog, this is a great thing to do. It just allows them to get air into their ears. And now we're going to clean out right there in front of her stop, right at her eyes, so she doesn't collect a lot of debris there. So I just take my 10 blade, that's what I'm using, and I'm just scooping in an inverted V, and I will be scissoring the rest of that so that it will look nice and tie together very well. Now we popped on a snap-on comb over our 10 blade, and we're starting at the base of the skull and coming right down over the brow, right down over her eyebrows, and we are basically working on the top skull, the dome of her head. Now you can come on down the muzzle with that same length. If you want more length on the muzzle, then you just change your snap-on comb to a larger comb. I like a tidy look, especially on a short cut, because I don't like them to have a massive amount of hair on their head when they have a short haircut. So, and we do the same thing. We come up the jaw, because remember we left what our head assembly was last week, guys. So we just come straight up the jaw, down the sides of her cheeks, everything. I'm using an A on Daisy's head completely, on her muzzle, on the top skull, and on her cheeks. So now I got my Kenchi thinning shears, and in that inverted V shape, I'm thinning off the areas so that it blends nicely with the muzzle where we do have some length on her face. Because, you know, we scooped out at the eyes with a 10 blade. So if you can skip this, but if you didn't, it wouldn't blend as nicely. It just looks more natural when you blend it out like this. But, you know, we've talked before, guys. I know everybody isn't comfortable with thinning shears yet or doesn't want to use them at all, and that's fine. You don't have to. Just skip this step. You can do it with a shear, with a straight shear. You just got to realize you know, you got to be really sure about what you're trimming, because it can leave lines and look a little bit unpleasing. So now I'm using a straight shear, and from corner of eye to all the way across the nose to corner of eye, we're setting her brow length, and I'm giving her a very short brow because her mom wants the hair out of her eyes, and that's what she was looking for. We could leave a little more brow here, and that's up to you and the client, either way. So then we're just trimming. I mean, there's not much to scissor off, guys, after we use our snap-on combs. That's what's the really cool thing about snap-on combs. I'm just trimming off anything that is not working with the shape that I'm trying to create. You know, it's hanging outside of the lines. And here we do this trick. We did this a couple weeks ago on 2 dogs, on Indy and a mixed breed, but we roll that ear. See how I'm rolling it under my finger so that the hair right at the base of the ear that's going to pop out and stick out is sticking up, and I'm thinning it off so that it just looks real tidy. That's a nice trick. And I use that, obviously you've seen me use it 3 times. I use it on a lot of breeds. So now with our straight shears, we're just blending there at the base of the skull into our short clipper blade work so that it blends. That's all. You could use a straight shear solely, or you can use a thinning shear like I am here, just to tidy it up and make it look a little more natural. The thinning shears are really an amazing tool. They just erase so many things, and they really leave no lines. It just looks like the hair grew that way. It just looks so natural. And I use thinning shears on every breed, every single breed. Unless it's like a pup. You know, I'm not giving him a haircut. But, so, you know, I like to clean up inside of that flue, and you really got to pull that lip back in order to get to it. If you're not comfortable using shears or thinning shears in there, then don't do it. You could just use the corner tip of a 10 blade and clean up right along the edge of that flue. But I like to use a thinning shear just to thin it down a lot. Well, let's go for those pads. So you can use a 10, 15, or a 30 blade in here, guys. But I am using a clipper vac system. So basically anything that the dog is going to be standing on when she puts her foot down is what I'm trying to trim off. And we like a clean pad because it not only keeps them from getting mats in there, which they can get mats in there if the hair gets really long, but it also helps them to be stable when they're walking on slick surfaces. It allows their pad to grip hold of the surface if they don't have a lot of hair. Now we're doing a sanitary, guys, and I always use a 10 blade. Sanitary trim is around the anus, around the privates, and the armpits, even the feet. That's all considered sanitary trim. So this is how I use it, and I use it with a 10 every time. When you're going at the anus here, I like to go away from the anus. That's just what I was taught, and it seems to work. You know, they can get some irritation because it's a close clip. If it happens, just simply put a little Neosporin on a Q-tip and wipe it on there, and they will feel much better and it won't get irritated. And then I obviously like to clean out those armpits. So basically she's just, you know, looking real clean and real tidy. There's not a whole lot to do here except just scissor trim and thin anything off the legs, the head, the body that's just a little out of sorts. So we're going to start here with the feet. And there's not much to trim because we did go short. But you do notice how I am going in a circular motion around this pad and not straight parallel with the pad, like up and down. Because you can accidentally nick the pads. So you want to go around it in a circle. And I always use my brush to brush up anything that's sticking out. And when I don't like the shape it's creating, then I use my scissors and just scissor it off so that it creates the shape that I'm after. And this is a shortcut, so you know it's in fact, Raquel, this is probably pretty much the cut that Miles gets. Because I did see some pictures of him and he has a nice summery cut right now. So there again, I'm just using my brush and my comb different times to brush up the hair, and I'm just scissoring off anything that just doesn't belong. And there's not much because we did a summer clip down on this girl. She's going to be nicely cooled down and she's going to feel amazing. So, and it is hot, boy, I'll tell you what. Now I like to use my thinning shears right around the base of the tail just to thin this out and make it blend and look like it grew a little more naturally, you know, it just looks a little more blended. And now we're going to set the tail length. This is fun. And there is a specific length that a dog's tail should be. So when you pull that hair down and you run your thumb down the bone of, that's right, see the bone of the tail so you feel where it is. You should be trimming the hair right to the hock, which is that bone right there. I'll show you in just a second. Look, right there. Right there. That's the hock. That's how long it's supposed to be to look balanced. Now we're dealing with a flag tail, so I like to hold it straight out from the dog's body, straight out, not up in the air, just straight out, and just finish and tidy up that flagging. I'm using a thinning shears because it does look so natural. And she's pretty much done, guys. She's all cleaned up. It was a simple trim. I mean, you guys can easily do this at home if you have the proper tools and setup. It's really not hard. And it cleans them up nicely. And the nice thing about a summer trim is it cools them down, but it also will grow back. By fall, we'll have a nice pretty golden doodle again, and we'll leave length on her. Because that's the cool thing about it. You can have all different types of trims with this coat type and not affect the coat. It won't hurt it. So, and we're just trimming up the feet, just like we did the back one, guys. I used my brush. You can see how it pulls up the hair that I would like to get rid of. That's all it is. we're just brushing it up and scissoring it off, just like that. Whatever is affecting our little shape that we're after, so that she looks like she just grew this way, like with no hair. She grew with no hair. But yeah, it just tidies everything up. See? Look, you can see that sticking out. I'm going to snip that right off, just like that. And now we have a nicely shaped foot. It looks tailored. It looks clean. It doesn't look like anything was missed. And she looks very tidy. And this is just what we do all around the body here, guys. And now this is a danger zone. This little knuckle back here, guys. I'm using like the middle of my shears. If you were watching that, you've got to be very aware of your scissors and what you're cutting, because there again, that's sticking out, that knuckle, and it can be nicked easily. Just got to be careful and never rush when you're grooming, guys. Don't ever rush. You'll regret it. You'll make a mistake. So you definitely don't want to rush. And now she's done. It was so easy, but it's a lot of work. She's a big girl, but she feels great, honestly. Look at her. She looks cool now, doesn't she? And I love those full ears. I like to leave full ears when I can, especially if the clients are okay with it. Her mom loves her full ears. So it kind of matches her full tail, and it gives her some character, I think. Since we did a summer trim, it still makes her look pretty. And she is pretty. She's a good girl. She really is. So, you know, look, all their clipper marks are gone, guys, just by using the 5 in reverse. Remember, that was the secret to that. And it's a nice smooth clip. It looks great. I wouldn't prefer to do a 7 in reverse. It's a little short. You can do it. Daisy probably would have been fine with it. But this is Daisy. She's on her way out the door. I will see her in about 8 weeks, and I bet you she's feeling great.